Drew DeArmond, I hope you're having a great Thursday. Welcome into the game here in T-Town.
Always great to be on with you in the City of Champions, Ryan. Looking forward to being back inside Bryant-Denny Stadium this Saturday night. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Now, are we going to step outside of the press box and sing along with Dixieland Light, or what do you think? I mean, what do you think our role should be in this?
Well, I think we should just enjoy the fact that it's back. I certainly tagged you on the tweet when I saw it go across Twitter yesterday. I know you've been kind of crusading for this to come back to Bryant-Denny Stadium. It's good that it is. I hope this is not the last time we hear it. I'm skeptical of what might happen inside Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday night, but we'll see.
All right, be honest with me, okay? I want you to be completely honest with me. Did you realize that the lyrics, before it got banned, did you realize what they were saying? Like you knew every verbiage that they were using to describe Auburn? I mean, did you know that, or did you just – because you and I, when we go to the stadium, it's kind of hard to hear what – I mean, you can hear the noise, you can hear the roar, but it's kind of hard to understand it. Did you know that they were saying what they were saying?
Well, being an Alabama fan, as I am, I've been going to games for, many years since I was young. My first game was in 1987 inside Legion Field. They've played this song for a long time, and I have to admit, I guess it was probably a few years ago, around 2014, 2015, I started listening closer, and I could tell that something was different, and I had to listen, and then continue to, perk up my ears. And yes, I did figure out what they were saying, and I had a feeling there was probably going to be repercussions at some point in time. And predictably there was, and it's taken several years. They've gotten it back. Now I just wonder how they'll handle the opportunity as far as the students.
All right,
and
so
what kind of behavior we'll see Saturday night.
If your life depended on it, do you think we'll get it right? Yes or no?
No.
Yeah, me neither. I'm the same way. I don't think it'll happen. I just don't. I don't. Because listen, think about how long ago it was banned. I mean, there's some that are sitting in that stands that they don't. They like it because they're told that they like it. I mean, they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. I mean, you're a junior here. Do you really know what Dixieland Light is all about? I mean, you got to remember, a lot of the students are from Massachusetts or Illinois or New York or Pennsylvania. They don't know what Dixieland Light is. I mean,
and quite frankly, the song was out before any of them were ever born.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm with you. So I'm like you though. I don't think they'll get it right.
No.
All right. So where have you been on this panic side? Have you been providing therapy up in Huntsville with all this defensive talk that we're in a panic zone down here? Where do you stand?
I stand with keep the pedal to the metal and score 55 to 60 points a game and then work out the kinks on defense. That's exactly where I stand. I thought this would be this kind of football team this year. I didn't expect the defense to be dominant due to personnel losses and coaching changes. And that was before all these injuries, Ryan. Once again, Alabama has 5 guys that would have contributed on this defense, 3 defensive backs, and Daniel Wright, Jalen Armour-Davis, Trevon Diggs, Chris Allen at linebacker, and Terrell Lewis that are out. So this is a football team that will be defined by their offense. And my opinion is keep the pedal to the floor and try to be the greatest offense we've ever seen and win a national championship in a different way.
All right, so let me ask the question this way. Do you think we have major problems, or do you think these problems can be fixable on the defensive side of the football?
I expect this defense to be much better by the end of November. I think they got a huge wake-up call against Arkansas, who is not a very good football team. I think Arkansas has a good coaching staff. They just don't have the material. But I think, several of these guys, including Mack Wilson, including Dylan Moses, including some of the guys on the back end in the defensive backfield, got a huge wake-up call. Because the defensive backs had played well, I thought, up until Saturday. But the back 7 just did not play well at all. And I think they got a huge wake-up call back 8 or 9 when you consider sometimes the nickel and the dime packages. But I really think, that Alabama got a big wake-up call, and I think they're going to respond Saturday. I expect them to play much better against Missouri. I don't expect nearly the amount of mental errors we've seen. And I think the defense will be much better down the home stretch in November. But again, fans should not be surprised by this. It's not a video game. Alabama is the most talented roster in all of college football. But when you think about it in context, 2016, by the way, I'll just say this. If Tua Tagovailoa, as State would have had it, would have been on the team in 2016, probably would have been the greatest football team in college football history because that 2016 defense ranks right up there with 2011 and 1992 in Alabama. They just didn't finish to go 15-0. But the thing is, all 16 from that 2016 defense, all 11 starters are now in the National Football League. You can't lose that much talent, even at Alabama, and sustain injuries and not feel it, and have coaching turnover. So it's been the perfect storm. But luckily for Alabama, they have recruited well enough on the offensive side of the ball, and they have, in my opinion, who's going to be the greatest quarterback in Alabama football history behind center. They can still overcome all this if they stay healthy, and Tua Tagovailoa is in the lineup.
Who do you expect? Give me a couple of guys that you think can have an opportunity to step up in the absence of Trevon Diggs.
Well, I think, first of all, it's got to be Savion Smith. I mean, we saw him struggle at the beginning of that Ole Miss game. He kind of lost his job. But he does have a pick-six earlier this year. People need to remember that. So he has some talent, some ability. He's a former five-star recruit. I think he can step up. And I think eventually down the road in the next couple of weeks, I think Josh Jobe can be a guy by the end of the year that we can go back and look at it and say he had some coming-of-age moments because he's another, I think, five-star level talent at defensive back. Certainly right now we're going to see Jared Maiden and probably Kyrie McDonald. But as, Jobe continues to practice and get more confident and hopefully get some reps on Saturday, I think Josh Jobe down the stretch, he hasn't had the immediate impact of Patrick Surtain II, but I do think Jobe by the end of the year can be an impact freshman as well in the defensive backfield.
We're at the midpoint right now. I want to go through defensive side of the football, and we'll work our way to the offensive side as well. But I want you to give out some grades. Let's start at defensive line. Quentin Williams, Isaiah Buggs, Raekwon Davis, the primary defensive lineman. There's others that rotate through there. What grade would you give them at the midpoint of the season as we're halfway home?
I'd say I'd give him a solid B.
Okay.
I understand Raekwon doesn't have any sacks, but he's had a lot of pressures. Buggs had a huge game against Texas A&M. He's one of the leading sackers in the league. Quentin Williams has a first-round grade right now. A lot of the NFL people think he's Alabama's best defensive player. So Quentin Williams has played well. I like what I've seen out of Brian Ray. He's flashed at times. And then, they've used to beat him Masika and Fedarian Mathis at spot. I think it's a solid B for the defensive end.
All right, let's move to the linebackers. What grade would you give them at the midpoint?
Okay. Do you want me to grade it as an entire unit?
No, why don't we'll break it up. Inside backers.
C-.
Ooh.
They have been too soft against the run. They haven't been sound enough in coverage. Certainly Dylan Moses has played hard, and he had 10 tackles last game. He is out of position some, but the one thing I'll say about Dylan is he plays 110 miles an hour. Mack Wilson has been a D. I don't think he's played very well at all. His run fits have not been good. He hasn't made enough plays in coverage. He's been out of position, not playing well with his eyes, been assignment sound. I think Mack Wilson really has been the biggest disappointment of the defense so far.
All right. And when you go to the outside backers, what grade would you give them?
I think I would give them a solid, I would say a B, I guess. Maybe a B- because they haven't had a lot of sacks. Christian Miller had the one game where he had the 2.5 sacks and against Ole Miss, and he really played well. But other than that, there hasn't been a lot of plays. And then Anthony Jennings has struggled some, but this is not all his fault. He's also coming back from a very extremely severe knee injury where he almost lost his leg. So, and I think Jamie Mosley has been solid, been okay, and they kind of lack depth there as well. And the Yabi Anoma has flashed, but I would give them a B to a B-. They haven't had the pass rush that I thought they would at times and the impact plays, but I think that can change as the season goes along. I think they've been pretty solid, not nearly as many issues as the inside backers, but I would give them a B to a B minus.
All right, so we go back to the secondary. I think we've already talked about them enough, but throw out a grade that you would give the entire secondary as a group.
I would give them a solid B. I mean, I would have probably had a B plus up until the game against Arkansas, and they really struggled in that game. Gave up too many plays to the tight ends. Part of that was the linebackers' fault, but I do think there are some times where they were not assignment sound in the secondary. But because they lost so many guys and had so many injuries as well, so you lost the top six from last year. You've had three guys get hurt. I still think it's a very solid B for Alabama in the secondary, and that hopefully can even improve. I thought they were ahead of the curve, but they took some steps back against Arkansas. I'm going to be interested to see how they respond against Missouri.
All right, so let's go to the offensive side of the football. Let's start up front where it always starts, in the trenches. What grade would you give these guys?
I would give them a solid B plus. I wouldn't say an A because I don't think the run blocking has been as good as it needs to be. And I'm not sure. They've started to develop a little depth, but I don't think they have as much depth maybe as they could have, because I do think this is a talented and deep unit. I'm not sure they've been developed as far as the backups enough, but I would say a solid B plus. And I think their pass protection has been spectacular in keeping Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts and Mac Jones clean, but especially Tua, who has just been amazing so far. He's been the best player in the country.
Wide receivers, what grade would you give this explosive group here in Tuscaloosa?
I would give them an A, no question about it. There haven't been a lot of drops. They've made big plays. Judy has 8 touchdowns already. Devontae Smith has made plays. Henry Ruggs. And Ruggs deserves an A simply because of his hustle against Arkansas, because that shows you're completely bought in and a team player when you're running the way he was running when Irv Smith fumbled the football and scooped it up and scored. And then Jalen Waddle has started to get more and more involved. It's the best top 4 I've ever seen at Alabama in one unit. So I think right now a solid A for the wide receivers.
All right, running backs as a group, where do you see these guys? What grade would you give them?
I'd give them another A. The pass protection has been a little spotty at times, but I think they've settled into their roles. We saw Damian Harris. If an Alabama football game is even somewhat competitive in the first half, into the late second quarter, into the third, you're going to see a lot of Damian Harris. You did. He's the bell cow, the guy they trust the most. He had 15 carries for over 111 yards. He had a couple of touchdowns. I think he's a great back, really good receiver. And then Josh Jacobs has settled in nicely to kind of he's been a Swiss Army knife. Even though I know Nick Saban just kind of physical about people using that term this week, but that's what he's been. He's done a great job returning kickoffs. He's been an excellent short yardage running back, taking over that role from Bo Scarborough. And he's also shown big playability as a runner and receiver. And then Najee Harris, he's averaging over 6 yards per carry. He did have a near fumble against Arkansas, but he's run hard. Brian Robinson's been good when called upon. Even Jerome Ford has had moments, but it's been as good a unit as we thought, and it's probably the deepest in the country.
Do I divide the first-string quarterback and the second-string and the third-string quarterback, or did I just ask you to judge them all as a group?
A plus.
Okay.
A plus. Best player in the country in Tua Tagovailoa. Jalen Hurts has done his job. He has turned it over a couple times, but I really like the fact that they got him involved as a kind of a secret weapon against Arkansas in the running game to help generate the jet sweep and then the direct quarterback run, because everybody knows that's his strength. This is a runner, and it makes these defenses have to account for it. And then, as Coach Saban said, they can do other things off of it. They can throw it. Mac Jones has been a little skittish, but you got to understand he's never played in a game until this year. He got off the snide with a touchdown pass, in the last home game for the Crimson Tide against Louisiana to Jalen Waddle. But it really has to rotate around Tua Tagovailoa. And when he's thrown 18 touchdowns and no interceptions, that's an A plus in my book, and I think he's the best player in the country.
I guess I just want to hear you say it. Special teams?
a C- to a D.
Oh, come on. I mean, no, I'm not talking about grading. You're grading on the curve, Drew. You cannot grade on the curve. You got.
I'll say it's a C-.
C-? C-?
Yeah,
We've missed 4 PATs, Drew. Not a C-, man. Come on.
But you have to take into account return. They've been great kickoff return when they've kicked the Josh Jacobs.
Okay, all right. So let me
what Waddle's done at
let me back
That's
up.
why it has to be.
All right, let me back up. All right, let me split special teams then. Place kicking, what grade would you give it?
D.
D. Punting, what grade would you give it?
D-.
Okay. Well, at least, I mean, we haven't punted in a while. But, all right, and then so then return game, I guess we could answer it like that.
A-.
Okay. I see what you're doing. I got you. All right.
Yeah.
That's all right. So Auburn, Tennessee, what do you think?
Well, the first team to 20, if it doesn't put you to sleep, will win the game probably. I still think Auburn will win this game. If they don't, I heard you refer to the GoFundMe account for Gus Malzahn. It'll go into overdrive because this Tennessee team is not very good on offense. They don't have a lot of difference makers. Their offensive line is not very good. You know, if they score more than 13 points, if I was an Auburn fan, I would be just alarmed. I think the Tigers it'll be ugly at times because Auburn's offense is not very good right now. They're not very good up front. I do think that they'll come out and play a little bit better. I would say around 27-10. I think Auburn's going to get the job done. This is just Jerry Pruitt just does not have enough bullets in the gun to compete. This Auburn defense is much better than that Tennessee offense and that matchup. And then I think Auburn, even though they're struggling offensively, this is not a Tennessee defense. It's really it's very good. They don't have a lot of talent on that defensive line. I think that's where you win and lose games is up front. And I think Auburn will win this game. Not a pretty game by any stretch of the imagination, but I say 27-10 Auburn.
All right, final question here. LSU, Georgia. I know we've both been a little bit down on Georgia, but is there any way you see LSU winning this game?
If Joe Burrow cannot turn the football over and Jake Fromm throws a couple of picks, yes, I could see this, going LSU's way. Right now I see Georgia winning a close game. I would say around 23-17. I think the crowd will keep LSU in it. I think LSU will play hard. I think they'll battle all game long. And I do think they'll force at least one Georgia turnover. But the key is going to be forcing multiple mistakes. Joe Burrow had a couple of interceptions late against Florida. He can't have any mistakes against this Georgia team. I do think Georgia is nowhere near as good defensively as they were a year ago, which gives LSU a chance. So if LSU can run the football for 200 yards in this game and Burrow not make any mistakes, I think the Tigers could upset Georgia. And if they did, it would have to be around a score of somewhere around 27-20. But right now, I see more of a close Georgia win, 23-17, and escaping Baton Rouge and staying undefeated and trying to count down the games until they play Alabama.
Drew D 977 ESPN. Drew D 977 ESPN. Talking ball 7 until 9 on 97.7 The Zone in Huntsville, the only sports station in the Rocket City, because I hear Drew DeArmond say that all the time. The only sports station in the Rocket City. Am I right, Drew?
Yes, it is. It's the only sports talk radio station in the Rocket City. And we look forward to talking to you tomorrow morning, getting your thoughts on Dixieland Light and the University of Alabama. And I'll just say this in my closing comments. For Alabama, if the kicking game continues to struggle, just go for Tua.
Oh, my heavens. Oh, my heavens. Go for Tua. I got it, man. I got it. I got you, man. Hey, listen, have a wonderful day. I'll see you inside Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday. Thank you, man.
Thank you.